In tonight's truly shocking, amazing 20-page filing, prosecutors in Jeanine Pirro's office say the government received new evidence indicating that, and we quote here, damage to the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool in June 2026 was the result of flawed installation by the contractor. Quote, a rushed and botched installation by AIC, the primary contractor, led to the damage of the lining of the reflecting pool.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. This might be one of the most humiliating about faces I've ever seen a U.S. attorney have to make. Jeanine Pirro, handpicked by Trump to be D.C.'s top federal prosecutor, parroted every one of the president's lies about this case. Here she is announcing that indictment a month ago.
There was an effort, a violent effort to rip up the sealant from the bottom of the pool. And irrespective of whether or not, we think that, there is some situation that preceded it, we can state and prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he caused damage. And that damage is over $1,000.
And now, right before this case was to go before a judge, Jeanine Pirro has been forced to not only drop all charges, but admit in legal filings that Donald Trump's paint job was the problem all along. In case you forgot, this is what the president said about the damage to the reflecting pool.
We have I think 290, 300-foot slit right through it, probably a box cutter or a knife of some kind. They cut it up with a box knife and tried to destroy it. And it's in great shape now. They're terrible. They're vandals. They took a cutter, a box cutter or something very sharp. And can you imagine, what did these people come up with this? And they cut, and then they started ripping it up. You know why? Because they're sick people.
As you might imagine, President Trump is livid about Jeanine Pirro's inevitable decision, posting on social media, I don't know what she was thinking. But this was always going to be the outcome. Whenever Trump's delusions come up against the requirement for evidence that still prevails in courtrooms, he loses. Now, as I've pointed out here often, courtroom convictions are not the primary goal of indictments like this. These are performance pieces, with Trump Justice Department sycophants feeding his delusions and trying to intimidate his opponents. There's a litany of examples I could point to. This one, the Comey case, the subpoenas issued to New York Times reporters. But I don't think the attempts at intimidation are having the desired effect, because the people behind them, like Pirro, are just so incompetent. Almost every time, they end up being humiliated. Here was Pirro stating emphatically that they had a case.
Indicate in your belief that it was probably damaged before, or do you believe that he
damaged it
further, but do you believe it had already been damaged before?
He damaged the pool.
Before he touched it.
He damaged this pool.
But there have been, all these videos, obviously.
Well, good. I'm glad you've got that evidence. Come on in the grand jury. You can testify. Next.
Time and again, this administration tries to lie its way through scandals or manipulate details to make itself look better, and it just ends up looking foolish. More and more Americans are seeing through the facade and realizing that the emperor is naked, and all the fake gold leaf in the world won't be able to hide that. Trust me, Trump is trying. Just look at what the Oval Office looks like today. Democrats have a wide open lane when it comes to messaging, if we can just capitalize on it. Trump and MAGA are flailing, losing in court constantly, focusing on things Americans don't care about, and pushing policies that the country hates. I asked Cliff Schecter to join me to talk about this. He's a Democratic messaging strategist whose 2-decade career advising the DNC, the D-TRIP, and the AFL-CIO has made him a go-to voice on how Democrats communicate or fail to in the media. Here's our conversation. Cliff, great to have you on the show. I wanted to bring you on to get your perspective as a messaging professional, looking at this pool liner saga and them dropping the case humiliatingly. I think we often give MAGA way too much credit for being able to stay on message and deliver effective propaganda. They keep failing in news cycle after news cycle, whether it's this pool liner, which we have been just destroying them on since its very beginning, to the war in Iran. And you attach to that the trying to hide the KIAs. We've done shows on that, the killed in action, reducing the numbers from 18 to 14. They are not good at messaging, and we gotta quit giving them credit. We can undermine them, and they're giving us every tool to do it.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Ken. I appreciate it. What's so frustrating, I would say, about this, and not to have to quote a movie, but yeah, I'm going to quote a movie, where, the president, Andy Shepard, an old Aaron Sorkin favorite, the American president, says if only one person is doing the talking. Actually, I think Michael J. Fox's character says it to him as to why he's getting crushed. If only one guy is doing the talking, well, people need leadership. They crave it. They're going to believe who they hear. These guys are terrible at it. And it's not just they're terrible at messaging. They do such horrendous, such awful things, as you pointed out, hiding who's killed in a war. Even when Trump bothers to show up at Dover, disrespecting. So, we don't need to go through it all. The John McCain, I like guys who weren't captured, Gold Star families insulting him. This has been an ongoing pattern. And to me, the biggest problem we have, you're great at messaging. Others are, but we have not had I've never understood this, an organized messaging apparatus at the top of the Democratic Party. And the simplest thing in the world is people understand things in narratives. They understand if there's a narrative that you can give them, and we don't have to lie, it's true, then they will put each piece of that puzzle in perspective under that narrative. And the narrative about cruelty, incompetence, and corruption is the one I've been talking about forever. And this fits under that. This is a self-inflicted error, and they attack a guy who's a U.S. Olympian, an American hero. They're so stupid. They literally, it's like they almost go out of their way. Let's find somebody who really would be very popular with all Americans and go after them. We should have been on this immediately with an organized campaign of digital ads, of influencers talking about it. It just frustrates me to no end, because you're right. They disqualify themselves. They're terrible at it. But you know how much stronger it could be if we had an organized narrative? I
do. Hey, it's Ken. Quick break to let you know that I am heading back to Ukraine soon. So many of you stepped up to help the 34th Marine Brigade, the unit I've been embedding with the past couple of years. They desperately needed a new motor for their rescue boat, and you came through. Thank you. There are so many other urgent needs, though. This unit is the one at the heart of the MeidasTouch and Valor Media film Drone Hunters of Kherson, and they're the ones defending that city every day against nonstop Russian drone attacks against civilians. I have seen them in action. I've been on patrol with them. This is actually the wreckage of a Russian suicide drone shot down by one of those teams. I've even been pinned down in a bunker with them as wave after wave of Russian drones hammered our frontline position. But because of the extraordinary heroism of people like Adama, commander of a drone team I embedded with, Ukraine will win this war. The more help they get, the faster that can happen. Units like the 34th are constantly having to make do with whatever equipment they can scrape together, which is especially challenging for a unit that operates attack drone teams, river assault crews, counter drone patrols. The 34th does it all. If you participated in the first fundraiser we held, thank you. I've just launched another one. This time, we're not capping the goal, which we hit practically overnight last time. If you can help out, please click the link in the show notes. Your support will save lives. Thank you. We're going to need to save another entire episode to litigate the Democrats' messaging strategy. We can sure do a heck of a lot better. But it feels to me like the Achilles heel of MAGA and Trumpism in this domain is their propensity to lie. I should say their pathology for lying. And it works often. It works when you don't have a media fact checking them, but it always fails when it comes up against the requirements of, say, the legal system. And that's what you're seeing in this case with David Hearn. I wish there had been a lawsuit, for example, in the they're eating cats, they're eating dogs lie, because
not too far away from either of us in Ohio.
Exactly.
Yeah, in Springfield. Right.
Anytime their lies are actually adjudicated, they lose. I mean, maybe you know the numbers off the top of your head, but Trump and his administration are losing in court case after court case after court case. And this, I think, is a great example of their inability to have their message survive first contact with reality.
I mean, they lie about such small things sometimes that don't even matter. I don't see how they change. Again, what you've pointed out is so key here, and I'll sum it up very quickly. Because Democrats don't have that strong narrative hitting them, because corporate media has failed us so massively in that just being objective and telling the truth is all we ask them. And if they did, they would point all of this out about Trump, but they have to have both sides it and whatever. And right-wing media covers up for them. So it's like this sort of trifecta of things that allows them to get away with so much of it. But the problem is they're so bad. They lie so badly. They're so terrible at governing. They've done every stupid thing you could possibly think of, from tariffs to deportations of workers to getting, oil stuck in the Strait of Hormuz to fertilizer to whatever. They've destroyed an economy handed over that was a terrific one. Affordability is ridiculous. Inflation's through the roof. People can't afford anything. And you know what? When you can't afford food, they can't lie to you and say, you can't afford food, really.
Right.
That's where they get into trouble, is when the reality hits you, that you can't do things you used to do. You can't afford things you used to be able to do. You're in danger where you didn't used to be. That's when people put it together. And this one, or if it's just an easy thing to understand. I mean, the number of lies about this reflecting pool, it was so stupid, because this weirdo, this weird person, which if we just would say how strange this man is, who obsesses over flushing of toilets and how strong the water is and, whatever. He was obsessed with the reflecting pool to show he's better than Obama or Biden. And instead went against any scientist would tell him. They're pouring like hydrogen peroxide in there. It's insane what they did. And so I think it's kind of like injecting bleach. People see it and they're just sort of like, are you crazy? I mean, so it should show everybody that they have such an advantage without Democrats having this counter narrative, with right-wing media saying everything they say is true and corporate media failing, and they still are losing. He is still at 32 to 34% approval, depending upon which of the last three polls that have come out that you believe. That should tell you what we could do to him. We'd have him in the mid-20s. If the media would do their job, and if we as Democrats had a narrative where we were pointing this stuff out that fit into that every day.
That was part one of my conversation with Cliff Schecter. Check out part two. We'll try to get that posted on Wednesday. See you then.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.